it is Nikki. Welcome back to the channel for some inspirational quotes. So I have started my summer reading for my British novel course in the fall, and even though I've only been doing it for like a week, I still have managed to get through 2 of my books. I got through Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse, which was a beautiful read, beautifully written, and also Salman Rushdie's Haroun in the Sea of Stories, which is one that I had never heard of, but that was like the most delicious book I have read in such a long time. I came across some quotes in both those books that just like tickled my writer bone. Some of them I just felt were so relatable that I had to highlight them, and others just made me happy. Like as a storyteller, I was like, oh, I love this so much. So I thought it would be fun to share them with you guys, my fellow writers, and see if they also inspire you, or if you can connect to them in the same way that I could. Why not share the inspiration? Also, I wanted to say that I was inspired by one of your comments on one of my past videos to do something different this year with my novel study books. I don't know if you can see Reggie at all right now. I really wanted this to be a Reggie feature, but she's just not into it, so I'm just sitting on the floor and you can probably only see me. Whatever. Anyway, I was inspired by one of your comments to actually take notes and do my highlighting in the physical book that I got for school, which is not something that I have ever really done in a book that I enjoyed. Mixed feelings this semester as I'm reading these books that are really good and like marking them up. I feel like I'm wrecking them. I'm a bit of like a president business when it comes to books. I'm only happy if they stay pristine permanently. So maybe this is like therapy. Anyway though, quote number 1 from Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. A painter named Lily is contemplating like the challenge of executing her artistic vision. She could see it all so clearly, so commandingly when she looked. It was when she took her brush in hand that the whole thing changed. It was in that moment's flight between the picture and her canvas that the demons set on her, who often brought her to the verge of tears and made this passage from conception to work as dreadful as any down a dark passage for a child. So I know that's a little bit flowery language-wise, but essentially she's talking about that like fear feeling of going from your vision or your idea for your creative project to the actual implementation of that idea, which is something that I just understood so well. Like it's a bit of a downer quote, but I just got it when I read it. Like, that sick feeling when you have this beautiful idea for a story and you want to execute it perfectly, but like you're scared to start because you're scared that once you start, you're not going to be able to execute it perfectly. But as writers, we know that the key is to just do the thing. Don't stress so much about getting your vision perfect that you don't write. The important thing is to keep writing and to let the process take your project wherever it goes. And maybe that won't be to your original vision, but it might be to a better vision. This next one isn't about painting. It's more Lily feeling like words just can't describe what she's feeling. The urgency of the moment always missed its mark. Words fluttered sideways and struck the object inches too low. Then one gave it up. Then the idea sank back again. For how could one express in words the emotions of the body? So this is not like specific to writing, but again, I just felt like it captured that feeling of having a vision in mind and feeling that self-inflicted pressure to like nail it exactly, and that feeling of urgency and the idea that the words strike the object inches too low. I felt like that was such a perfect metaphor because we've all been there where we have the image in our mind, that like idea of what we're trying to get across, and words are just not doing it. Like we just can't words in that moment. Haroun in the Sea of Stories probably has like a gazillion quotes that I could use for this because it's just so beautiful story-wise. Imagine the cleverness and wittiness of Alice in Wonderland with a sort of like Eastern, like Aladdin and the 40 Thieves flavor, and a plot that has an actual purpose and like linear goal. Essentially, it's about a little boy whose father is a storyteller but has lost the gift of the gab. So the story is kind of about trying to save stories and to fix that problem. One quote, one of the first ones that I found was, "The real world is full of magic, so magical worlds could easily be real." And I loved it because it just seemed like something C.S. Lewis would say. Like, the real world is full of imagination and wonder and beautiful things, so why shouldn't we escape to imaginary worlds made of wonder and imagination and beautiful things? Or this one, "No story comes from nowhere. New stories are born from old. It is the new combinations that make them new." How relatable is that? Like, how inspiring is that as a writer? I don't know if you experience this, but I can definitely get stuck in the place where you're worried about being like 100% original and everything. So if I realize I'm using a trope, it'll be like, oh no, like do I have to cut this subplot because I'm using a trope? No, I always have to come back to the fact that like Every story recycles tropes. Like, tropes have been around forever. The point is not to like invent new tropes with a story. The point is to combine them in a relatively new and exciting way, bringing something new to them that only we can, because we have unique perspectives and unique life experiences to draw on. So I love this quote because it reiterated an assurance that I need sometimes, that like, no story is 100% original, but it's what we bring to the story that makes them original and brings them to life. And finally this one, and get ready for my soapbox moment, y'all, because this one has been very relevant to me over the past 48 hours. We lost touch with our beginnings, with our roots, our wellspring, our source. Boring, we said, not in demand, surplus to requirements. And now look, just look, no color, no life, no nothing, spoiled. This is in reference to the sea of stories, like an ocean that's made of stories that is now being corrupted because the people that inhabit that sea have lost touch with their wellspring, their source. I read that and just immediately thought of my own wellspring and my source of inspiration, which is God, and how whenever I lose touch with that or am not like diligent about connecting that to my story, then my story sometimes loses its like meaning. And I've been struggling with that lately. Like, I've been feeling a little bit of, I don't know if it's writer's block or just like a lack of inspiration, a lack of motivation. I've been really overwhelmed by the story, and there's lots of things that I need to fix, and I'm not feeling it, and I feel like I've lost touch with the thing that keeps me going. And at the same time, I've been feeling like I haven't been making the time for God that I should be making. So this quote was like a reminder that I need to maybe tap into my wellspring a little more, because that's where the meaning comes for my story, and that's the only way that I'll be able to accomplish what I want to with my story, which is pointing back to God. So then last night, I'm like writing, I felt like I was hitting a wall. Like, I'm coming up to like a more spiritual based scene, and I just didn't feel like I had it, the inspiration. And then this morning, I decided the first thing I was gonna do with my day was listen to a Christian podcast. And in the last 5 minutes of this podcast, suddenly the guy starts talking about the exact spiritual thing that I'm trying to channel in this upcoming scene. And it just kind of blew my mind. Like, wow, this is exactly what I need. Now I'm coming away feeling inspired to go and write this scene, and I felt like God just put me back in touch with my wellspring, with my source of inspiration, and hopefully that will bring the color and life back to my story. I don't know if you can see Reggie, but here she is. That's my little anecdote for the day, and those are my inspirational quotes from British novels. Who knew that they could be so inspiring? Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the quotes. Feel free to like or subscribe and comment below with your favorite inspirational writing quote. Honestly, I would really, really love to see those. And as always, do not forget to spend some time in the clouds today.